Hello and welcome back to Down the Track. We're continuing our analysis of the T20 World Cup squads. Today we'll be looking at the England squad. England, who are T20 2016 World Cup finalists and also ODI World Cup winners in 2019, led by Owen Morgan, who's really been a revelation as captain for England. He's transformed this England white ball team. They're a completely different team, very aggressive, power hitting, even with the ball, very smart. And yeah, it's a completely different team. They play high risk cricket now, not like the England of old, where you're trying to conserve wickets. They're going for it from ball one, and that's a lot of credit goes to Owen Morgan for that. And yeah, coming into this World Cup again, they're one of the favorites, but. One thing that I will really look at is they're missing two key players, and I think it's a huge blow. Ben Stokes and Jofra Archer. I know Ben Stokes got hit in 2016 in that last over where Brathwaite smashed him for a few sixes and they lost the game. But since then, he's grown as a player. 2019, he was a key player in that final as well. And then Archer, with that extra pace on these Dubai pitches, he would have been a handful, even with the new ball and in the death. So these are two big misses, and that's why England's chances won't be as strong as they with these two. And that's what I feel, to be honest with you. There's still some amazing players there. So we will look into that, but I think if you just want to see like one drawback, it's missing these two players. And then if you look at the batting order, at the top of the order they have Roy and Bairstow, experienced players. They played in these conditions. Roy's got a 50 as well in that IPL. Bairstow played there last year in the UAE. He had some good form, and both are destructive batsmen. They can go from the outside. How they play spin will be key. Because these pitches will be slow and low as the tournament progresses. So they'll have to play some smart cricket. And that's where I think David Milan will be very important. Even Moeen Ali, I think the rotating the strike, playing the spin, smothering that spin, playing the sweep shot, they'll be very important, that left-right combination as well. The worrying thing is also the form of Owen Morgan and Livingstone. It's not that great right now. So that middle order could be fragile, and if the opposition starts to attack that and they do not perform the middle order, then England could be in a pickle. But that's the thing with these guys. They have a couple of players who can take the game on the scruff of the neck, the likes of Butler, Bairstow, Roy. These guys can really change the game. Even Livingstone, when he starts smashing it, he can really take the game away. It's just about how are they going to adjust to this pitch, right? Like how these batsmen are going to adjust. If this World Cup was in India, on like the fresh pitches, or in Australia, for example, I would say England are favorites, even with the lack of the other two players. But just because of the conditions, they'll have to be a bit more smart about it. They can play Moeen Ali as a floater if needed. They have some other players there. Tymal Mills in the bowling lineup, he might be like a surprise pick. I don't know if he's going to play in the first game, but he'll be a surprise pick. He has some good pace. And then they have Wood, who's pretty fast. Wokes is very experienced as well, and Adil Rashid, he's going to be key for them with the ball. I think if he can pick up wickets and Taiwan end up, England will have a good chance. But yeah, I'm just worried about how they're going to perform on these kind of pitches. But they have quality players. I think they should go with the confidence. Fine, Livingstone hasn't performed in the IPL, but this guy, the talent that he has, he can play on any pitch, and they need to go with that. And I think the fact that like in Rajasthan, a lot was relying on him and Sanju Samson, whereas in England, he has Butler, he has Bairstow, he has Roy, he has Morgan. He has a lot of backup there, Moeen Ali as well. So I think there'll be less pressure on him, and he can go out and play his natural game. And for me, if he starts to click, then it really shores up that middle order. And if the top order can set a platform, then England can really make those big scores depending on the pitch. If I look at the ideal 11, it's a bit tricky for me because with no Ben Stokes there, it kind of puts pressure on Moeen Ali to be that fifth bowler. But they have Livingstone as well who can chip in. So and I think ideally it works out because the pitches will be slower, so spin will come into play. So like Moeen Ali is not a bad option, to be honest with you. So top of the order, I'm going opening batsman Jason Roy and Johnny Bairstow. One down, I'm going David Malan. Two down, Livingstone. Three down, Butler. Four down, Morgan. Then Moeen Ali, Wokes. I'm going David Willey, Adil Rashid, and Mark Wood. So with David Willey, you could go Chris Jordan as well. The only reason I went Willey is, he had a really good 100, and he's performing with the bat as well. But also he brings you that left arm pace, right? Like it's a different angle. So you have Wood, who bowls express pace. You have Vokes, who's more line and length, and he can throw the cutters. He's like a proper T20 bowler. And then you have Willie, who provides a different angle altogether. So I think it just adds variety. But then, yes, Chris Jordan, although in the IPL his performance are not that good, but for England, he's exceptional, especially in the depth. He has that slower ball, he has the variation. So if Willie doesn't work, you can always go to Chris Jordan, or they might even start with Chris Jordan. I won't be surprised because he is an experienced bowler. The only reason I put Willie in my ideal 11 is just because he gets that different angle, and with the bat, he's been in good form. Sometimes I saw him bat 2 down as well, so he can play a floater like Moeen Ali, and it just gives you that extra option, right, as a left-arm fast bowler and also a hitting batsman as well. Chris Jordan can bat as well, but more of a bowler, I would say. So that is my 11. If I look at with the bat, I'm looking at the top with Johnny Berso and Jason Roy. I think this is going to be the key, how they're going to start games, because I think they will have to utilize that new ball. When it's hard and new, you'll have to utilize it, hit the boundaries, fielders in, because as the ball gets softer, I think in the UAE, especially if they're playing in Sharjah, then it's going to slow down. So you have to utilize that power play. And that's why these two can be very effective, because if they can get like 50, 60 runs in the power play, then even if the middle order does single, double and stuff, get to 160, it could be a match-winning score. So that's why I think top of the order, they'll be crucial. With the ball, I'm going to go with Adil Rashid. Like I said, he needs to pick up wickets, and he'll have Moeen Ali for support. I think that's one issue. They don't have a Ben Stokes, so Moeen Ali will have to take the fifth bowler role. But then Livingstone can also bowl. So if Moeen Ali does have a bad day, Livingstone can roll his arm over. He bowls some good leg spin, and I think on these wickets he will be effective. And he's a wicket taker, right? So I think that's where they can really have an advantage, England, with Livingstone in the team. So that's why you always have an advantage when you have a batsman who can bowl, and there is some flexibility in this. Of course, they don't have some key players, but I think it's still a very, very good team. If you look at their group, they have Australia, they have West Indies, they have South Africa, and then 2 qualifiers. I'm expecting them to make the semi-finals, but it's not going to be easy, because I think against the West Indies, that's going to be a very tough game. They'll be up against some big hitters. Can their bowlers live up to that expectation and tie down the West Indian batsmen? And against Australia, they're coming against a full-strength Australian team who in the past have lost to England, and they'll want to take some revenge. And with no Ben Stokes and Archer there, Australia do have some very experienced players, so that's going to be a tough game as well for them. South Africa, I expect them to beat, but again, you can't take them lightly, right? They have a good, very strong bowling lineup. But I think against the West Indies, they might win. Against South Africa, they'll win. Australia, it's going to be difficult. So I don't know. It's difficult. The only reason I think from this group, West Indies, Australia might be favorites, in my opinion, to qualify. Even though everyone's saying West Indies, England, but West Indies don't have Narayan, and that's going to be a big issue. I think Adil Rashid has more experience, and I think he will be key for England. So I'm going to predict the England semi-final berth. The defending ODI champions, they're finalists of the T20 World Cup. They'll want to go one step ahead. And and Owen Morgan's captaincy, that's going to be key. His form as well, hopefully he gets into some form. It's been poor in the IPL, but his captaincy's been on point with KKR. And with England, he'll have a more stable squad, a lot of power hitters as well. So I think in that sense, I'm going to back them to go into the semi-finals. But I think that pretty much wraps it up for England. It's going to be an interesting group. It's going to be a fun World Cup. Make sure you like and subscribe and comment with your reaction and how well you think England's going to do, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and where you think they're going to end up in this World Cup. Also, just lastly, I just want to say they have some good squad players as well. There's Sam Billings, there's Tom Curran, like I mentioned, Tymal Mills before. I think that these guys can also contribute